Hey guys, welcome to Crow Technicals Trading. Today we're going to see how price reacts to simple moving averages. Simple moving averages are great tools to help identify the strength of the trend and how well the trend is doing. On my charts I use three of them. I use the 20, the 50, and the 200. In a good uptrend you want to see price trading above the 20 and the 50. Trading below the 50 is normally the sign of a weakening trend, and below the 50, pretty close to the 50 is where I like to place my stop losses, because if it's going below the 50, that's normally a point where I want to get out of the trade. It's telling me that the trade is breaking down and I don't really want to take the chance anymore. The very last stop is this 200. On this chart it's the 200 day. If you move to weekly, obviously this is 200 weekly. But that's the last point. If it drops below that, you definitely don't want to be in that anymore. But I like to usually set my stops a bit below the 50. So we can see in this stock, this is Kemet Corp. It reacts to the 50-day pretty well, and even the 20-day at most points. You know, it follows the 20-day, you know, here pretty closely. Right here, it drops to the 50 and the 20. Actually, they both converge there, but it bounces right off the 50. And you can see it goes into consolidation after that, but comes back to the 50, goes a little bit below under it, but doesn't stay there for too long and comes right back up. And here it hits the 20 and comes back up. Gets close to the 20. I wouldn't really call that touching it. But you got to remember too, these are zones. These aren't hard prices. If they touch it, it doesn't have to be exact. As with any support or resistance, it's a zone area. It's not an exact price. But we can see it comes back down here and tests that, and then bounces from that, and it's going up from there. If we move to the weekly chart on KEM, you can see it bounces off the 20 weekly average right there, and that's about the only point. Other than that, this is an excellent uptrend. It's staying above the 20 on the weekly, and it's still going up. So that is, I currently have 2 positions running on this, and hopefully, you know, it keeps going. The next stock we're looking at is, well, let me get it in there, BioLife Solutions Incorporated. This is another one. It's got a really good uptrend going, probably since like the middle of the year. Alright, yeah, at the end of June it started picking up. So we can see the 20 day, it just follows that right on up here, comes back there, contacts it and bounces, comes down again, hits it, and in the same day pulls back up from that touch. Hits it again and then bounces from there, and now we don't know what's going on. It's, hopefully going to move forward. So up next is China Lodging Group, and you can see just how great of an uptrend this is. It just follows these moving averages all the way up. Here we touch the 50, and then it stays on the 20. Here. Drops to the 50, and as soon as it stays there for maybe a day, 2, 3, 4, bounces. Then it's back to the 20. And just follows the 20 on up, and then drops maybe just a tiny bit below that 50-day moving average. But after that, it's back up to the 20, and it's staying at the 20. It hit 1, 2, 3, 4, almost hit there. I mean, it's just staying at that 20 pretty much. So you can see how that's helpful in determining the strength of the trend and where you can place your stop losses at the beginning of a breakdown of a trend. If we move to the weekly, you can see the real strength of this. It has, that 20 weekly moving average. It's just touching it, and then just moves off of it and hasn't retouched it yet. So if you're looking for an entry, looking at the weekly, you would want to wait till that drops back down, and you want to see it bounce again off of the 20. Even if it touched that 50 again, you might want to move to the daily chart to touch that 50 again. If you're looking for an entry point, touch the 50 and bounce off that 50 and then come back up. And once it clears the previous high, that would be an excellent entry point for this stock. On to Scientific Games. And recently it hasn't really touched either the 20 or the 50. It kind of like blew right through the 20 here and here. But within the past 52 weeks, see we have the 52-week low, was almost right on the 50-day. But it bounced from there, hit the 50 again and bounced again, then came up to the 20, bounced, back down to the 50 and bounced. And you can see it just follows that moving average on up. So as long as it stays above these moving averages, we're going to stay in this stock. We're going to stay with the trend as long as it lasts. We want to take as much profit from the trend as possible. Once it breaks below these moving averages, that's when we're going to look to get out of this trade. Up next is a currency pair, the US dollar versus South African rand. And if we move to the weekly, we can see that back here it stayed above the 20 really well all the way up. And I mean, we're going over, you know, this is 1 year here above the 50, touched a couple of times, then hit the 20, and you just rode that 20 on up. Touched again right here. It peaked up here and then started coming down, and we're in, you know, almost a 2-year downtrend right now. But you can see once it got to this 50, it bounced pretty hard. I mean, that's a huge bounce right there in currency. I don't know how many people trade currency, but you always want to keep, you don't want to just trade stocks or just trade currencies or commodities. You want to keep your options open and trade a little bit of everything. Whatever is in trend, you want to be trading. But you can see just how big that really is. You know, down here is 14, up here is 16. So that's almost a 20,000 pip difference there. That's huge. And again, you know, once it hit that 15, it dropped and blew right through the 50. And we touched the 200 and we bounced off the 200. That is key there. You can see just how precise that is. You know, it touched it and bounced right back up, but then hit the 50, and now we're in a downtrend, so it touches a 50 from underneath of it and continues on down. And then, you know, we're kind of stuck in between the two, the 50 and the 200, bouncing just, you know, almost pinballing back and forth. This is where we want to stay out of, but I just wanted to show you this to illustrate just how those moving averages affect price. You know, hits here, hits there, and it just bounces back and forth. And again, these prices, these moving averages aren't hard areas. It isn't an exact price. It's just a zone, as with any support and resistance. But you can see just how useful they can be in trading. You know, you can use them as support and resistance. That is not the only thing you want to use. There are many different tools you can use as a trader. But it's a very useful tool and very simple too. You don't want to make your trading complicated. You want to make it as simple as possible. Thanks for watching. Hope you all enjoyed and hope you found a new tool to help you be profitable in your trading.